Okay, so today we're going to be covering the last part of life in West Africa. So let's just start by the challenges that facing the region. Who can start reading the first part? Uh, okay, Allah, Hannah, go ahead.
The challenges facing the region.
Yes.
Okay. Many West African countries face serious problems. To improve their situation, they must deal with these challenges and more. Bad economies, corrupt governments, out of control population growth, disease, and poorly funded schools. Government and economics. The European powers that colonized Africa built their economies on a few key resources, such as petroleum, gold, peanuts, or copper. The infrastructure or underlying framework of the colonies was built around those key resources. Once the colonies achieved independence, it became important for them to develop a variety of different industries. Otherwise, any drop in the world price of a key resource would greatly affect a country's economy. Many foreign governments invested money in developing the industrial base of the new African countries. In many cases, money from the loans was not used wisely. As a result, the invested money did not yield high returns. West African countries were not only dealing with struggling economies, but also faced enormous debt. The International Monetary Fund and the World Bank have declared that no poor or developing country should have to pay a debt it cannot possibly manage. Debt relief has been important for countries such as Ghana, which suffered from bad economic choices and political instability. Ghana is now a model for economic and political reform in West Africa. Nigeria benefited from debt relief as well and was able to pay off the remainder of what it owned in 2006. A major challenge for the region is that as the population grows, the demand for food and jobs grows. An economy does not have a chance to grow if it cannot meet the needs of a growing population.
All right. So if we are going to be talking about the first challenge with the governments and economies, I need someone to summarize them. Who can help us to summarize them in many points? Hmm. Hannah Yasser,
Yes, Miss Sadie.
please summarize them.
About the government and economics,
Economies, yes.
of course. First of all, the first challenge was that the debt, they had the debt because they weren't using the loans money wisely. Second, they had bad economic choices and also they were politically unstable. Also, they were poor like Nigeria, but Nigeria paid off her debt in 2006. And lastly, the economy cannot meet the needs of its growing population because it is economically not stable.
Okay, so we at the beginning, thank you, Hannah. At the beginning, we said that most Africa was colonized by European powers, and they came only for the resources. They came for petroleum, gold, and copper, and so on. So they had a problem of infrastructure, or the underlying framework of the colonies was to build around the key resources. They wanted to make use of the key resources. But after Africans have achieved their independence, it became very important for them to develop variety of different industries, or they will drop in the world price. So it has affected the world economy and also their economy. So they found themselves after having like industrial base that they have a debt after investing money and its return, especially Ghana and other countries. But Ghana is now playing an important role, or it is a role model for economics and political reform. It has managed to pay the fund for the World Bank and declared that no poor or developing country should have to pay its debt. So if you are a developing country or even a poor country, you don't have to pay your debt to the World Bank. And also Nigeria has benefited from the debt relief, and now they are trying to have like welfare in their economy. So it was a chance for them in order to grow their economies, especially that they have other problems because their growing population won't have enough resources or even have job opportunities for the population. What about the second one, the health and education? Who can read health and education? Laura, go ahead.
34 million people in the world are living with the HIV virus, and 22.9 million of them live in sub-Saharan Africa. Dealing with such a large number of HIV-infected people presents several challenges. The first challenge is to supply healthcare to the growing number of people who carry the virus. The second challenge is to reduce the number of new HIV infections, usually through education. The third challenge is to deal with the families and communities hurt by AIDS related deaths. West Africa has a high birth rate and the population is growing quickly, but life expectancy is still short compared to the other parts of the world. Healthcare is an issue in large cities, but it is an even greater issue in rural city areas. The population of West Africa is young. For West Africa to have a sound future, educational systems must effectively prepare young people for economic and social development. A lack of education funding means that some countries cannot afford to make updates or improvements to their schools.
Okay, again, health and education are two of the main issues in West Africa. Why? Because most people there are suffering from a virus called HIV. So people which live whether in Saharan African areas or even in the cities or rural areas are equally suffering from this disease. So the government is trying to provide them with health care to supply the growing number of people who carry the virus. Okay, and the new infections usually go through young people, and it's actually messing the life expectancy because life expectancy for people who are living there is very short compared to other parts of the world. So the healthcare is a main problem in them. طب how do they try to improve the healthcare? They invest or they think that education system should be working effectively in order to improve or to develop their health, because the lack of education funding means that the countries cannot afford to make updates or improvements to their schools, and if they are not updated or improved, they won't have good health or development. So this is the situation for the health and education. This is the end of the lesson. These are the more issues. Who can summarize the health and education? Someone else. And Hannah already said her share. Who can summarize it? Okay, let's see. I'm gonna choose. Farah Hashim, can you help us? Farah Hashim,
Yes, Miss Sally. Yes, Miss Sally.
summarize this point.
Which part, Miss Sally?
Health and education.
Okay.
From what you heard, ya Farah, what kind of health problem they're suffering from, and what about their educational system. Quickly, please.
Miss Sally, can you hear me?
No, I can't. Can you please repeat?
Miss Sally?
Yes, I can hear you now. Go ahead. Who can help Farah till the connection comes back? Laura, go ahead.
Okay, so there was a virus called the HIV, and many people were suffering because of this. So they had some challenges. Like the first one is to supply the healthcare to the people who have the virus, and the second is to reduce the virus. And the third challenge is to deal the families with the by the AID's deaths. And
Yes, this is about.
and then so that's about the virus. That's what I understood.
Thank you very much, Laura. What about education? Who can tell us what's their point of view of education? Do they have enough money for educational system? Okay, Hannah.
Some countries can't update or improve their schools and educational system due to the lack of funding for education, and also through education they can reduce the number of infected people through of HIV.
So education is playing a very important role in order to help people in West Africa. All right. So this is the end of the lesson. Okay, and now it's your turn to finish the practice book questions. Anyone has a question about the lesson?
No.
Anyone has a question about the quiz or the assignments? Sure? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna end the session and see you inshallah on Sunday. Bye.
Bye. Bye.